Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today, we'll learn about how to stop endlessly scrolling on your phone. Now, let's begin. Technology is always at our fingertips. Between smartphones, tablets, laptops, and other devices, we spend hours and hours every day staring at screens, scrolling through pages, responding to messages, and engaging with virtual communities. Now, much of the time, our devices do make our lives easier. We have access to more information at faster speeds than ever before. We can use finely tuned applications and lightning-quick programs to significantly increase our productivity. Thus, in the workplace and in our social lives, technology can be profoundly beneficial. So much so that many people couldn't survive without it. But in our personal lives, our devices aren't always so advantageous. Just as technology can amplify our productivity, it can also be a tremendous distraction. Our devices use colorful and rapid stimulants to mesmerize us into wasting hours of our time. Just think about the evenings you've spent scrolling through page after page of funny comments and videos. Think about the hours you've lost to video games, social media, and other forms of digital entertainment. The worst part is, you probably aren't aware of how quickly time is passing you by. When you finally pull yourself away from your screen, you may discover that you've wasted the entire night. Somehow, the hours just slip through your fingers, and all you have to show for it is a faint memory of mindless digital stimulation. Modern media is dangerous and distracting because it's endless by design. Every page you scroll through blends seamlessly into the next. Every video you watch launches you into another without hesitation. You scroll and you scroll in search of a natural stopping point, but you never reach the end. And the scrolling never stops. People who create entertaining media want to encourage this very phenomena. They create platforms that are smooth and silky, eye-grabbing and immersive, and they're easy to learn and easier to access, naturally pulling us into the little world they've created. But how and why does this structure essentially hypnotize us into endless scrolling, thereby consuming hours of our time? The brain is naturally drawn to activities that provide rapid stimulation and rewards. Each time you encounter a funny video, your brain is flooded with a pleasure-seeking hormone called dopamine. This hormone creates a burst of happiness and excitement, but that rush of emotion doesn't last very long. After a brief high, your mood rapidly decreases. The initial excitement fades away, and you find yourself craving another burst of pleasure. So what do? You scroll to the next page. You watch the next video. You keep searching for one burst of stimulation after the next. With every rush of stimulation, you tell yourself that you'll be satisfied, but that satisfaction really never comes. Instead, these highs and lows feed into themselves, creating a vicious time-wasting cycle known as a dopamine loop. This is why you scroll endlessly on your phone. With every minute you spend scrolling, you're falling deeper into a dopamine loop that becomes more and more engrossing, even when you've passed the point of entertainment. The media itself may have lost its luster, yet you keep scrolling in search of the next rush. Obviously, this is a problematic cycle which affects millions of people every day, but breaking free from this cycle is not an easy task. The problem is, your brain doesn't have a natural stop button. Your brain naturally seeks rewards, novelty, and stimulation, even if those stimulants are destructive or unhealthy. As long as you allow your brain to follow these natural urges, you'll keep sinking into unproductive patterns. So, how do you escape? How do you stop yourself from chasing digital stimulation? What strategies can you use to break this cycle and finally reclaim your time, your freedom, and your self-control? The answer to these questions is a little different for everyone, but it always begins with a simple question. Does scrolling through your phone bring value into your life? Oftentimes, we don't stop to consider whether we're investing our time into something meaningful or if we're simply turning off our brains. For example, scrolling through your phone may be valuable to your life in some way. You may use it to keep in touch with your community, gather inspiration, or gain advantages in your career. If this sounds familiar, then there may not be anything wrong with the time you spend using technology. But for all the people who wish they could change their habits, reclaim their time, or set themselves free from technology, your scrolling isn't adding anything to your life. So, it may be time to radically change your behavior. Before you can stop scrolling, you need to make a commitment to yourself. If you want to change your habits, that change will require you to take action, embrace discomfort, and resist your instincts. Otherwise, you'll just fall back into the dopamine loop sooner than you think. So right now, promise yourself that you're willing to change. No matter how uncomfortable things get, remember that promise, and you try as hard as you can to keep your word. All right, now that you've made your commitment, you may be tempted to fight brain chemistry with brain chemistry. Many people think that if you want to escape the dopamine loop, then you need to remove all sources of dopamine in your life. What we're talking about is sometimes known as a dopamine detox. The goal of a dopamine detox is to reduce the power of reward-seeking behaviors by fasting from all sources of dopamine in your life. That includes every activity that brings you rapid, temporary pleasure, whether it's scrolling through your phone, spending money, or simply enjoying a sugary treat. All of these things release dopamine in your brain, so by avoiding these rapid stimulants, you can hypothetically change your habits. We have plenty of anecdotal evidence that dopamine detoxes help people change their lifestyles. What we don't have is scientific proof that detoxes effectively manage bad habits or in any way alter your hormones. The first problem is this: avoiding all sources of dopamine is nearly impossible. If you don't get it from scrolling or sugary foods, you'll get a rush of dopamine while talking to a friend, going for a jog, or engaging in any other feel-good behaviors. Unless you lock yourself in a dark, empty room for days on end, it's simply impractical for anyone to achieve a true dopamine detox. The second problem is that dopamine detoxes are incredibly taxing. Any sudden change in your behavior can cause negative side effects, like a significant decline in mood and motivation or a radical increase in stress. These side effects may stimulate unhealthy choices and other destructive reward-seeking behaviors like overeating or spending too much money. Though a dopamine detox may not be an efficient method to change your behavior, we can use the principles of dopamine detoxing to design less stressful or taxing strategies which can help you manage reward-seeking behaviors. Right now, scrolling through your phone may be a go-to source of stimulation in your life. Every time you're bored or unmotivated, you pick up your phone and automatically begin cycling through page after page. Because your brain doesn't know when to stop, you keep going until one mindless decision ends up wasting hours of your time. This is certainly a problem, but no matter how desperate you are to find a solution, you don't need to 100% eliminate technology from your life. Instead, you need to find a balance, allowing you to use your devices in a way that's healthy and productive. The key to controlling any bad habit isn't fasting, but moderation and portion control. In other words, you don't need to starve yourself of dopamine, you just need reliable strategies to control and moderate your behavior. Luckily, there are many available tricks to help you find a healthy and balanced relationship with technology. For example, you may control your daily social media usage with a designated scrolling timer. For 15 or 30 minutes each day, you can sit down and scroll freely without worrying about how much time you're wasting. Setting a scrolling timer gives your brain a much-needed stopping point, prompting you to set down your phone and change your behavior. Scrolling timers also make you more conscious of the time that you spend on your devices. When you see how much time has passed, that visualization motivates you to put your phone away and to do something more productive. Over time, you'll start to value those 15 or 30 minutes far more than the hours you would have spent scrolling in the past. By setting aside dedicated scrolling time, you can genuinely appreciate and be conscious of the media you consume. Now, this is just one of many strategies that you can use to stop endlessly scrolling through your phone without noticing. If you find that timers aren't enough, then you can always add more radical strategies to moderate your media use. For instance, you might step back from your social world by temporarily deleting your biggest time wasters. Some people download and delete their apps every single week. You might allow yourself to use a few of your favorite apps on weekends while deleting those same apps during the week. This strategy teaches you to better prioritize your time, setting aside weekends for fun and weekdays for productivity. You'll be surprised how freeing it feels to get rid of your biggest time wasters, even for a few days. Whichever strategies that you use, remember that change doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process that relies on steady, incremental progress. If you practice moderation, you'll slowly become more conscious of your scrolling and may eventually stop altogether. Until then, don't expect yourself to change overnight. Little by little, make good choices. Be conscious of your time, because every step forward brings you closer to a life of balance and moderation. Hey, thank you for watching Top Think, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.